We're now on game 3 of Stigs against Buniu, Stigs aka the Godfather, in the Art of Winter Castle Age Cup group stage. It's game number 3, which means it is played on Ghost Lake. Ghost Lake is a very weird, kind of crappy specific map. Not a lot of people actually really enjoy playing it. It's one of those weird ones. Like, it's not quite Golden Swamp. It's not nearly as bad as that. It's not as bad as Ghost Lake used to be. But it's like, take the current Drush meta and just put it on cocaine. This is a Drush FC fest. This map completely, every time. So, what are we seeing? We're seeing a couple of assists. We're seeing, oh, first of all, we're seeing Buniu going straight for getting all the sheeps in the middle that he can right away. That's always a good thing to take away from your enemy. Lots of sheep scouting at home could definitely make away from it. Persians and Franks. Franks is not aggressive on this map. It's Scouts is not too viable. Knights are not that great. But yeah, it's a good Ligand Civ. It's a good Arabia Civ, but Ghost Lake is definitely, is it played a bit more like Arabia than Scandinavia. But I wouldn't really personally pick Franks on it. Looking over at Persians. Persians is, again, I wouldn't really be a Civ I'd pick. I think it can be good. I think booming in this level could be really strong. But it's not something I would pick personally. Getting a lot of sheep is always just quite handy. I quite like Buniu's approach here of just going through at the middle, trying to get as much as possible. Looking at his scouting, he's basically covered most of the area. More sheep than he's ever going to need. So which Civ wins out of Persians and Franks on a map like this? Well, this map does actually have the potential to go to mostly late Castle Age. Because most of the combat just begins mid Castle Age, early Castle Age with Drush FC crossflow with most games. Don't know if we're going to see Drush from either of these players. Buniu definitely does have the scouting information, so it could be strong for him to do. And we're quite unlucky here with Stigs having a boar that's basically further away than my future. And not having any extra sheep to take under his TC, so he's going to be quite late here. This is pretty unfortunate. I'm going to assume that Buniu managed to lame a few of the sheep in the middle here, which actually were originally belonging to Godfather, not random spawns. All the sheep are gone now though, except his own. Oh, and a couple here. Godfather's scouting is very much not Ghost Lakey, but it's fair. So, what are we going to see? FC Knights. Might just see scouts from both players, to be honest. We're seeing some really weird early walling here. See how it goes. Again, I think Ghost Lake is a little bit of a boring map. I'm not a big fan of it, but if we get to game 3, pick Civ like a Drush. Burtons is really good. Some of the water civs actually that can be good for this. Japanese can be really strong. Celts obviously, generally strong pick. These kind of civs you can do quite a lot of versatile things with. I wouldn't really pick Meso here, but I think Aztecs could be really strong. Even after the nerf. I wouldn't really go Maya, I wouldn't go Inca. Oh, are we going to see Drush? Yes, there we go. Front player's going for a Drush. Persians against Franks, so I actually still think the ball is in the Franks' favour. They just have not necessarily a better economy, but they can open with a bit of stronger push. They can always transition to various different counters to Persians. Persians are not as resilient, not as dead to hull onager as before, but they still definitely could die to it, especially in a later game. This though, I think we're going to see a bit more of a slugfest. These players are not really confident or the kind to turtle a bit more. I was just wondering if we're going to see a lame there. Doesn't look like it. It looks like Stigs. I didn't scout the boar. He didn't know he was going to go for it. How many extra sheep is this? Yeah, I have 9 extra sheep just chilling right there. Buniu is quite good at going for hills in scout fights. In a game against him, I literally just ran away because I couldn't be bothered microing it. So we did have a drush here from Stigs, but he's had these militia out for a couple of pop now and they're not been doing anything. They could be devastating on the berries. The lane the berries is really important for fielding scouts or FC. It's a large source of income. Looks like we're going to see a naked FC though. We're not really seeing much walling here. If the drush was here just a little bit earlier, if he made the militia and sent them over, it would have been devastating. Now he's going for the walling just a little bit late. He's not got loom yet. No early loom here. Perhaps the walling villager can be killed. Bit blind here from Stigs though, he spent a long time scouting his own base. I'm assuming he's going for the drush because he just didn't have much nearby. Oh, and he might accidentally throw away the militia because he's looking at the boar. Well, now he discovers where the TC is. That's it's really, really unlucky. We're going to see basically near enough a free FC here from Buniu. And we might even see Knights might clean this out. Looking over at Stig's map, it's actually okay. He just has some decent gold inside. He has a couple of reasonable wood lines stored inside just in case anything happens, but it's unlikely to. Buniu does not have scouting of this though, so going FC is purely based on his own map, not his opponent's map. This isn't walled, Stigs knows this. We're seeing 3 villagers going on gold. Pretty typical FC here. When you have this many sheep, this happens. Trust me, like, there just isn't enough room for them, so you just let your villagers do what they want. Not a lot on gold for, not a lot on wood for an FC like this though. But I suppose he doesn't need the farms yet. Lots of extra sheep. Actually, I'm kind of curious as to how he has this much wood. Perhaps he idled a lot for this pop. Looks like we're seeing an FC, obviously it's a Drush FC from Stigs. He has, more villagers, obviously he's not been upping for a while. Actually, looking at the amount of villagers, he only should have, by this stage, 3 or so more. Having 5 more is too much. So it looks like Buniu has been idling in his Dark Age again. An advantage definitely can be gained here with a better build though. Both players are going to be able to click up as soon as they hit Feudal Age. Actually no. A little bit over queued on the villagers here. Cancelling a couple of them. I didn't build up buildings, that's why. No barracks, perhaps he thought he built one and then just sort of tried to correct it by going Market Blacksmith. Who knows what's really going on here. But it looks like we're going to have to see a bit of economy rebalance here to sort this out. Stigs still in Dark Age, but you can even see this. He's only 25% up. I'm not so sure what the need for the double walling is. Or walling the villager in, for that matter. I'm not really seeing it. It doesn't finish the market. Oh, that's pretty unfortunate. I think he wants to boom. I think he'll get this up. He'll just send all his villagers to wood and then he'll just boom. So sheep here being used to scout the base a little bit. Woodline has been scouted. Main gold outside has been scouted. Like, as soon as you scout their main gold that's outside, just go aggressive. Like, they don't have that many tiles of gold if you take away 7. And this is really lucky to have 2 golds in your back base. For example, here we see 1. And main gold and second gold are basically held. We see stone. If I was to guess, he wants to buy wood and build more TCs and do like 4 TC or something crazy. No, barracks, okay. Guys, I'm lost here, honestly. These guys are playing beyond my level. I'm not good enough to understand. So we're seeing, Stigs was like 5-6 villagers behind the castle age, but he's actually closed the gap to maybe like 3-4. So I think that's definitely paying off a lot better for him. He's gonna have a much better economy. He needs to have the knights though, he needs to be able to push. He out with double stable, so he's gonna be able to go double stable here. And if he masses enough knights, adds in a couple of monks, adds in some spears. Monks is probably the most important thing. He could definitely take over any chance Buniu has of making camels to defeat him. He needs to play aggressive though. Especially with a gold like that, he wants to get TC of his own out there. TC there on gold and wood, maybe TC out here on the wood. The hills here cannot defeat any chance of putting a decent TC. Relics would be really important here. He goes for a castle against Persians. What? I'm going to be asking him why, because why? Throwing axes don't really counter anything Persians can make. I mean, they do slightly better against camels than some other infantry units, but I'm a little bit surprised at that. Do you want to use like throwing axemen as a support for knights? Because that doesn't really work. It's too much of a cost. It's minute 21 with 4 units, you know, when you could have a lot more. I'm so confused by this move. You see 3 TCs off from Buniu though, looks like he does want to boom. Perhaps he's just doing his usual thing where he just like ups booms, makes minimal army, and builds a castle. Either defensive if he has the position, or loses a position, or aggressive if he has it. Not a lot of houses. This Persian 3 TC, you need slightly more than one villager building houses non-stop to keep them running. Yeah, I don't understand this castle or its placement one bit. I don't haven't got anything to add to that. Okay, the villager's going to be able to go down here. The scout's going to get sniped, which is quite important if he wants to add his own monks later. One rogue scout can be really annoying. Not a great fight here to be taking. Monastery, even a monastery here next to the relic, and next to where you're going to build a TC. That can be really helpful. And then siege workshop when you've got monks and a bunch of knights. Persians can't really stop that too easily. Of course you'll have a better economy probably, but your Franks, you have a good economy, you can make knights and boom behind it. Franks bonus are kind of underrated. Throwing Ashman here, getting a couple of kills, but nothing too spectacular. This is about to be overchopped. Do we still have... No. One thing I missed from user patch is like you could alt-click the flare button and it would give you like a tile or wall. So you could hover it between gaps to see if something was walled. That was a really nice feature. Camels are getting some upgrades, they do have bloodlines, and obviously +1/+1 in terms of attack and armor. When you're going camels, the attack actually does matter quite a bit. The armor is really important against ranged units, but again, if you're not against them, then I actually quite like to have the attack. For Siege Workshop, this is going to be quite nice. Villager does go down though. I don't see what he was trying to build, but he's fucking sending our villager to build whatever it was again. Seeing a 6 villager lead for Godfather. Obviously he did lose a few villagers here, but there's not been a lot of farming economy here to run TCs early. Buniu makes a lot of TCs, but it definitely seems to idle them quite a bit. That's either something that you can learn from to beat him, or something he can learn from to either spend the wood on something else if he knows he can't run the TCs. Yeah, we're seeing a big theme here. I think the secret is out, Buniu. Your plan is going to be foiled soon enough. That's why you have to play aggressive though and take a lot of map control. Alright, he doesn't see, he does see. He sends his economy. Siege Workshop, add a lot of rams. You always want to have your castle in range of someone else's, and you do want to have a lot of walling. Because then you can make some rams, you can send them to kill their castle, but they don't have any walls in front of theirs to stop rams getting in. Whereas you could. Mangonel behind the castle could kill the rams quite confidently. Seen some expansion over here for Buniu. Again, he's going quite heavy on stone. Maybe he wants to do repairing, maybe he wants to build another one. Mangonel already there though, trying to push in. Castle kind of not needed. And again, I'm not so sure why I didn't just put the castle between the main gold. Oh, and the TC's right on each other. And no villagers there for Stigs. That's what, 6 TCs? 5 TCs from Buniu. And 3 from Stigs, and Stigs is now behind in the villager count. I would say the biggest confusing thing in this game was the throwing axemen. The castle's the throwing axemen. All that resources could have been knights and could have cleaned all this army up, no problem. And definitely monks to pick up some relics. First monastery of the season we see. Buniu is picking up the relics, which is going to be quite big. Not sure the throwing axemen have the barracks upgrades, but we don't see a siege workshop here from Stigs to deal with that. Some knights being added, but I think it's still a little too late, might as well commit. Taxes, mangonels, let's go the whole way. Monks here again, healing is good value. Stigs going for some knight raiding in the eco, but there is a camel here waiting. TCs, they're present TCs, they could obviously survive quite a bit of hits as well. Couple of camels here should be able to finish it, those are 2 nearly dead knights. He might lose a few more villagers than he wants to there, but obviously it just has the TCs to reboom. 3 against 5. I hate when the TC targets the one that isn't weak. And there we go, cleaned up, no problem. I'm a little bit surprised we don't have rams here coming from Buniu though. It seems like the kind of 1 TC approach you really want to do. Mass rams in Castle Age is quite common. A lot of people tend to think, you know, it's a good time to imp. In fact, if I was Godfather here, I could cancel some of these, cancel some of everything and just click up immediately, start trebbing. A lot of throwing axes here actually, those could be viable. A lot of knights here as well, this could do a lot of damage. I'm actually not, like, I wouldn't say Stigs' position is great. I think he is behind. Buniu seems to have handled it better, he's getting the relics. Well, he's kind of stopped at some point, he's got the monks gathered there. He hasn't scouted most of them. He does have 2 in his line of view though, 3 actually. As well as 1 in his inventory. But he is imping first. We decided to see, oh, lots of knights and throwing axes being queued. Godfather's not upping to make those trebs. And he does have a lot of units he could up and upgrade. Conscription when you're going for units is really good. But trebs to get rid of this castle and start pushing. So, what's the transition here? How would you say if this is either civ? Persians, they kind of need siege ram just to flatten this as quickly as possible. They could even go onager at this point, just against full throwing axes, which he does know about. Halb onager, definitely viable. But then again, Franks have better halb onager. They could just turn around and do the same thing. They have siege engineers. They have bomber cannons to kill onager. Again, looking at range here. You can see that these villagers can actually repair this castle, keep it alive a little bit longer. Just so this Imperial upgrade can, you know, time could be bought. Because 3 castles making trebs will kill this, no problem. Only 1 treb coming out from Buniu is a little bit poor on the resources, but that's fine. You need a select all military hotkey for this reason. You kind of like, you have a mess all over the map, consolidate it into one place. A few camels running around your economy, they're on patrol, so they don't show up as idle. Something always important. Buniu did lose some villagers and it doesn't seem like he's regaining them, which is interesting. But fair, he does have 46 military, you would think that would be enough. This castle looks like it's going to go down. We're going to see a person TC here. It's basically just sort of a long-winded juice here, which I think is fair. That's a lot of throwing axemen. If we see Stigs hit elite. I forgot I had that. That was great. So worth it. Mugs here are actually not going to go down. Thought they would. Surprised at the lack of relic picks though. Gonna see some decent upgrades coming in for Buniu, I assume. Heavy camel maybe? Cavalier? Again, you can't just stay on camel. You have to go cavalier. If you're far ahead, then just go cavalier against the knights. You'll take care of it, no problem. I don't think this is... It doesn't look like it's with arson. Very important barracks tech to get for your throwing axemen. I'm seeing a lot of mess going on here. We do not have any stone left for Stigs. He's taking out his TC though. Buniu again, castles in his economy to try and stop the push. Well, these things are a bit more spongy than I remember them being without +4 armor. I only use them as elite with +4 armor. And they are very strong. One castle does go down, there still is 2 left, but then again there still is a castle there. Conscription's going to come in a little bit late, but it's fair enough. Lots of cavalier here to clear that up. Throwing axe is completely out of position. Nothing to stop him dying at home here. Nothing at all. And I think that's what's going to happen. And that castle is going to go up. A lot of throwing axes is going to die there. No elite. Oh, elite is on the way. It's just really in the queue. And a castle that might die soon. And Stigs does go for the call. I think he really could have had this one later on. I think Buniu definitely got a big advantage early. But then Stigs managed to somehow just bring in the numbers. Buniu wasn't really pushing him. And he could have turned it around. And he's throwing axes out of position though. It's a pretty risky place to try and raise some economy with throwing axes without your imperial upgrades rather than keep them at home to fight the army. He still could have probably kept at least one castle alive and just trebbed this, switch to Alps. Get decent economy, obviously a lot of his farmers weren't currently working, but they were, and you could easily add more. Decent amount of wood and food easily just go into Alps. Nice to see someone try to pick up relics though, they just stopped after a while. Yeah, Ghost Lake is kind of a shitty map, in my opinion. But then again, so is Scandi. Scandi is like 4 lakes, but just quite unbalanced. Oh, that attempt at walling right there. That's the E-pathing for you. Yeah, you really have to, like, Drush FC. I think Stigs had a good right idea here. You didn't quite have the Civ for it. I think Frank's is good, but it's not quite, it's nothing too special. It's not mainly crossbow civs is what I like to look for in this map. And he had his militia, he waited for a minute and a half with them before sending them. If he did that a little bit earlier, he wouldn't have to worry about paying attention at home. He would have actually gone in and done a little bit of damage. Could have looked a lot better for him. I think just idling that militia was just such a small thing, but it made such a big difference. Also, Buniu didn't play aggressive on the really bad main gold, and even the stone as well. And Stigs didn't really try to defend that. It feels a bit weird. This is a really crucial thing. Yeah, seems a bit odd. But, you know, it seems to pay off in the end for both players. The winner is the winner. More units killed for Buniu. A lot of them were slightly cheaper units. A lot of them were villagers, actually. Nothing too special in the timeline. We did see a big dip here. That was, I think, when Stigs decided to mass quite a lot instead of imping earlier. And we did lose a bit of villagers here. I think that's when the night raids happened on Buniu's base. Some relic gold, 451 from one relic. That can easily be over 2k if you just picked up the others. And a fairly reasonable naked fast castle time, just a little bit of delay in the feudal age because of a couple of errors. But that's okay. And a reasonable recovery from Godfather there. He was what, that's 3 minutes to feudal later, but 2 minutes to castle later. So, shaved off a minute. Did have a large army, but obviously they're throwing X-Men, they're not the most useful unit when they're not elite. Good games. There's definitely things I would suggest either player though, because I think I've got a clear view of both players' play styles now. And yeah, just going hard, map control and pushing hard definitely prevent this kind of thing from Buniu denying his stones early if possible. Should be the winning move. And I know if he's booming, then he's not making any units, so I could keep pushing hard. Which means change up your style if you see this and you're going to be playing the SFs and QFs. Not SF, the SF and Grand Final. Hopefully people learn something here today. But I'm PlusNomad, this game 3 over. See ya.